Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and boy do we have a shocking poll from the state of North Carolina. Now this is from Survey USA, mind you, which is an A+ rated pollster. This is the best of the best when it comes to the polling industry. If you're going to trust a poll, it's going to be something like Survey USA, because again, they have that perfect A+ rating. Now it doesn't, of course, mean that they're spot on every time, but relative to the other pollsters, this will be one of the most accurate. Now, what does this poll show? Well, they polled the state of North Carolina. They did a general election poll between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Now, Kamala Harris not only leads in the state of North Carolina, she leads by a very impressive 3 percentage points. We see she is at 49. Trump is at 46. I don't even think that this is within the margin of error, considering how accurate of a pollster Survey USA is. Now, the last poll conducted just not even that long ago. It was the 21st of August. You know, that is just, 20 days ago about. Now, just 20 days ago, it was a tie in the state. So since then, Kamala Harris has climbed. She has gained 3 points, over Donald Trump. She is now 3% over Donald Trump. And you can just see the interactions with this tweet. This is getting a lot of attention. You can just see the numbers going up because this is huge. This is the most important poll of this week, of this past week, definitely, so far. Because again, that A+ rating from Survey USA, that means a lot. That means that this is an important poll. So why is this so important? Why would North Carolina going to Kamala Harris matter so much? Well, it's 16 electoral votes. This is right now an extremely neck-and-neck race. I think that Kamala Harris is ahead. When you look at the electoral map, I think that she is favored in enough states to confidently say that she is ahead of Donald Trump when it comes to each candidate's chances of winning. Now, I didn't have, maybe I'll reconsider this, but I didn't have North Carolina going to Kamala Harris. So you can just assume, or you can just figure, how adding another 16 electoral votes into Kamala Harris's column, how much that would matter. After all of the states where we absolutely know they're going to Kamala Harris, plus North Carolina, you're already, for Harris, you're already at 242 electoral votes. You need 270 to win, so you're only 28 away. And 28 is not a lot when you consider all of these states. You've got Michigan, you've got 15 electoral votes there, right there. That one is almost definitely in your column right now. You've got Pennsylvania, they have 19. You've got Georgia, they have 16. It's not that hard to get 28 more to get to 270. So if you've got North Carolina going blue, that almost definitely means that Georgia, the neighboring state right down south, is going blue as well, because, of course, in 2020, Georgia voted for Biden by 0.2. North Carolina did not. So that's also an important fact. North Carolina going blue, that would be a flip from 2020. Donald Trump won it by 1.3%. Again, going to Kamala Harris, that would be a flip in the Democratic direction, which is absolutely gigantic in terms of its importance. So what point I was making before was that Georgia voted more Democratic, of course, than the state of New Hampshire. They went to Biden by 0.2. North Carolina voted red, Republican, by 1.3. Not to mention the polling on average. Now, this average is before this new poll kicks in, but before the new poll kicks in, Trump is ahead by 0.7 in North Carolina, and Harris is ahead by 0.2 in Georgia. So by both of these metrics, the 2020 results and the 2024 polling, Georgia is a more Democratic state than North Carolina. So we can probably expect to see Georgia vote to the left of North Carolina. So the point is, if North Carolina is going to Kamala Harris, as in the purpose of this video it is, then Georgia is as well. So you're already at 258 electoral votes. Trump advanced all the way down at 219. And again, you need 270 to win. You're only 12 electoral votes away. And of course, the most direct path is Michigan. You're heavily favored in Michigan right now if you're Kamala Harris. You're ahead in polling by 1.9%. It's one of your best states in polling out of the Battleground states, just behind Wisconsin It was the bluest state of these 7 battleground states that we outlined before. It went to Biden by 2.8%. I definitely think that Harris, looking at her enthusiasm numbers, looking at her favorability rating, and looking at where Biden was in 2020, even despite this close polling, I think that Harris is absolutely favored by quite a bit in Michigan. So look at that. North Carolina, Georgia, Michigan, you're already at 273. You win the presidency if you're Kamala Harris with just these 3 states. Pennsylvania, of course, has been talked about so much in this election season. They have the most electoral votes out of any battleground state. They have 19, which is more than the 16 that Georgia and North Carolina have. I mean, there was a discussion yesterday, I heard, in social media, that it was a bad move by the Harris camp for not picking Shapiro for VP, considering that he is the popular governor of Pennsylvania. But look, it doesn't even matter if you're able to run up your numbers in these Sunbelt states. If you run up your numbers in North Carolina, Georgia, and then I assume Michigan is under her belt already, you win the presidency just like that. Trump can have Nevada, he can have Arizona, he can have Wisconsin, he can have Pennsylvania, and you still win the election, and you're probably going to pick off, I mean, I think all of them, but whatever. So, Harris, the huge favorite. If we know going into election night, we won't obviously, but if, say that we knew North Carolina would go to Kamala Harris going into election night, her odds would be drastically higher than what they are now. So North Carolina matters so much. And, it does come to this question, as it does with every single poll that we talk about, which is, of course, how much are these, how do I say it? How much are the polls overestimating or underestimating Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, for that matter? Of course, in the 2020 election, the polls, many of you might not know this, but the polls way overestimated Joe Biden. I mean, he was expected, to win in North Carolina, as we just saw here. He was expected, to win in, I think he was ahead in Ohio, which he lost by 8 points. And then, of course, in 2016, Trump was notoriously underestimated. Hillary Clinton was, of course, notoriously overestimated. That was a bad year for polling. So, the common consensus is that we're going into 2024 in the same situation. And wow, look at that. Just like that, they updated the average, as I was saying before. And now Trump is only ahead by 0.1, by the way. That's breaking news, I guess, on 538. But anyway, as I was saying, so the common consensus is that Donald Trump will once again be underestimated, as he was in 2020 and 2016. Now, if that were to be true, then that would be extremely concerning for the Harris camp. I mean, he's already ahead in North Carolina on average by 0.1. He's already ahead in Arizona as well. And, he's looking he's coming extremely close in Georgia. Harris is only ahead by 0.2. Pennsylvania is Harris plus 0.4 right now. So with a slight overestimation, Trump could win all of these battleground states. But I would argue, not necessarily the opposite, but especially when it comes to these the Sun Belt battleground states, I actually think that it's possible that Harris is being underestimated, which is a major, reversal of what we have seen in these past few elections. Now, the most obvious point that I could bring up is the fact that Democrats have been underestimated in polling in 2022, and the fact that Donald Trump was way overestimated in the Republican primary in 2024. This doesn't get enough attention, but in the Republican primary, when he was running against Nikki Haley towards the end, but all the others in the beginning, like DeSantis and the others in Iowa, he was overestimated by an average of 8 percentage points across the primary states, in the competitive primary states where you actually had a contest. On average, he was overestimated by 8 points. So it seems like Republicans and Donald Trump have sort of lost, this power to way outperform polling expectations. And not to mention, we have the proof in the numbers right here. I always bring this up because it's so important. These are set in stone numbers from the Secretaries of State's offices that show a major increase in voter registration among key democratic demographics, demographics that break heavily towards Democrats in presidential elections. So this is the voter registration in this recent time period, the week of July 21st, compared to the same time period in 2020, which Biden won. Biden won in 2020, but we see even then, voter registration among young women up 84%, but more relevant to the Sunbelt states, Black Americans, voter registration is up almost doubling, up 86%. Black women up 99%, almost doubling, basically doubling. Young Latinas up 150%, and then this one is the most astonishing. Young Black women almost tripling their numbers in voter registration from 2020, 176%. The Democratic Party is clearly energized about Kamala Harris, especially racial demographics in the Sunbelt states, which break, of course, heavily for the Democrats. And what's important about these groups is that, first-time voters are extremely underpolled. That's how Donald Trump was able to outperform the polls in the 2016 election. You had a lot of young white men register for the first time, or register to vote for the first time, and they turned out for Donald Trump. Now we're seeing the opposite, especially young, diverse women in this more diverse region of the Sun Belt. When you have, all these demographics being severely underpolled, if they are, then that could result in a sweep of these Sun Belt states for Kamala Harris. And just like that, she wins the election. She doesn't even need a single Rust Belt state. But again, I bet Michigan is locked down in her column. So, North Carolina, going blue, absolutely so important. And, just goes to show these +3 polls, this is exactly what Kamala Harris wants to start seeing. Again, I think that in these Sunbelt states, she will be underpolled. She will be underestimated in the polling. I sincerely believe that. But then again, she wants to have enough slack, be enough in these states, be ahead in these states by enough where even if there was as big of a gap between the polling and the actual results, a difference between that, as there was in 2020, then she would still win. I mean, for example, Biden was ahead on average by 1.8 in North Carolina. He ended up losing by 1.3, so she, should want to get her numbers up there even more. But if we start to see these +3 polls consistently, it only, the odds of Harris winning only go up. So thank you all for watching this video. If you did enjoy, make sure to subscribe down below if you like this type of content. So subscribe, watch all my other videos, you know the drill. Drop a comment as well to let me hear your thoughts. Becoming a channel member helps out the channel greatly. You get exclusive benefits and all that. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time.